What's up everybody? Today I'll show you how you can create an awesome enemy punch launch effect. And this effect is really cool when you're creating fighting scenes and will blow your family and friends' minds. And to achieve this effect, you only need 2 shots. The first shot will be you tumbling around. Your movements should be fairly random, but make sure to spread your arms and legs out to the sides because of the high velocity that you're going at. When you feel like you've tumbled enough, just stop and lay there for a few minutes until you see a car coming and you question if you should just lay still to end the misery. The second shot is the easy part. Just pick up your camera and walk down the road you want to tumble on. It's important to have in mind that these 2 clips should be in a perfect symbiosis together. When I first sat down and tried to work out this effect, I was really unsure and had a hard time believing that this was going to look cool.
We're gonna have to do a lot of work here, but I always make it work, so let's see.
But I took one step at a time and then I found a really smart method. First, let's animate the time remapping of the background. That way it will be way easier to animate our character afterwards. We're only gonna need 5 frames. Keyframe 1 to 2 are representing high speed, keyframe 2 to 3 are representing slow motion, 3 to 4 high speed again, and 4 to 5 normal speed. Here's how to do it. Set a keyframe right in the middle of your clip, drag it down to 1 or 2 seconds ahead of the start of the clip, and now we would like a moment of slow motion to happen. So go a few frames ahead of the second keyframe and make a new keyframe. Drag this keyframe out for as long as you want the slow motion to be there. Now let's speed it up again by repeating the first step. And now we have a really solid template of how we should approach our character animation. Now go ahead and find the clip where you look like a fool. Let's remove the background by rotobrushing the entire clip. But only rotobrush the first frame and let After Effects work out the rest for you. Because this is going to be a very motion blur heavy scene, so small imperfections simply won't matter. Now this part might get a little tricky depending on your experience with After Effects. Our tumbling on the ground will be different from each other, but I will give you the tools you need and the ideas you need to have in mind when working on this scene to get a good result. And this effect is kind of a feel your way through the process here. So I'm going to enable animation on time remapping, scale, position, rotation, and anchor point. Now don't get overwhelmed here. These are the tools that we're going to use and we're going to take it one step at a time. But before we start changing any settings, I want you to ask yourself these 2 questions here. What are my movements and how are they causing me to interact with the road that I'm falling on? I can see here that I roll on my back, and when having in mind that I'm going 100 miles per hour, this roll should launch me up into the air. So I'm going to position myself up in the air here and slow down the time remapping a little bit here. Add some rotation in there to show that the character is out of control. And after some solid air time, I will position myself on the ground again and speed up the time remapping again until I see another roll. And for the next roll, I will aim for it to happen during the slow motion event. Of course, I will slow down the time remapping during this event and speed it up back again when the slow motion stops. Keep working on this idea until you reach the end of the clip, stop the time remapping, and then scale yourself down a little bit so it looks like you're sliding down the road. And remember, this is your video, so you should add as many rotations, as much airtime as you'd like to, because you can do whatever you want with these tools that I give you here. So now that we have the animations in place, please don't be sad, because what we've just achieved looks like shit. But don't worry about it, because this next part is gonna make it look super nice and it is really easy to do. This is the result without motion blur, and this is the result with motion blur. And as you can see, motion blur is essential for conveying speed. So first, let's enable motion blur on both of the layers. We will be applying the effect CC Force Motion Blur on both of our layers. This effect calculates the movement of your clip and automatically applies motion blur that adds a sense of speed and realism to the clip. Now, besides that, I'll put on CC Reticle Blur on the background to simulate even more speed, and I'll animate the amount to match the slow motion event. and also when I slow down in the end. And if you're not quite satisfied yet, feel free to add fastbox blur on the character layer to add even more blur. I'll also give the character a tiny shadow by adding a black solid, putting on a mask, turning up the feather, turning down the opacity, and animating the position of the shadow so it matches the position of our character. Also put on some wiggle position to make the shadow a little bit more chaotic and random when I fly up into the air. And when the slow motion event occurs, I will also add in an adjustment layer with find edges on and animate the invert on and off for a few frames for some cool impact frames. I know you guys know that I know that you know that I know. I love it. I'll also add in some anime lines here just for fun. And last but not least, I will pre-compose everything. Add on wiggle position and rotation. And if you see any funny black edges, you can get rid of them by adding the effect motion tile. Turn up the output width and height by 50 and move the effect on top of all of the others. And animate the camera a tiny bit. It really surprises me every time how much there actually is to it when you break it down. But when you're in the moment sitting and editing, your thoughts just disappear and one thing just leads to another. Anyways, let's see the final result. Very cool, and you guys should try it out yourself and try and experiment with some different styles and techniques and see what you can do with these tools here. And please share them with me, tag me in the post or whatever where you're going to share them. I would love to see what you guys can create with this. And if you also want to learn how I did this skull smash here, I made a tutorial on that as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a really nice day or weekend or month. I hope you have a nice day down to the grocery store, and remember, stay creative.